when they say limited money, it's a limiting belief.
That is totally true.
Huh.
Like, it's not limited whatsoever. Like, I've seen this in India, I've seen this in Dubai, I've seen this in Canada, I've seen this in the US.
Yeah.
All across, deals happening, people I've met, there's a ton of money out there. So that's one. A lot of people in Canada over leverage themselves. And I'm seeing, as a mortgage professional, like the effects of that right now are devastating.
How did you end up in where you are now with mortgage, but more interestingly also with Dubai?
Every action for me when I came to Canada as an immigrant was like, okay, well, if I do this, is it going to impact my dad's reputation back home? So the legacy aspect is the main thing where people are now considering Dubai.
If I'm a young family looking to explore about going to Dubai, what do I need? Do I need to have like 5% saving? Can I go rent? Is it okay to rent? And like, is it a feasible place to live for a young family?
The conversations that I'm having for Dubai start with...
We'll start off with a simple question. Like if I'm a person who's starting my business with limited money, do I even have a shot at, becoming a homeowner in some place? And is there like a misconception that maybe people carry around getting mortgages or things of that nature?
Sure. Let me ask you this first. You used the word with limited money.
Yeah.
Why? Why do you think money is limited?
Well, limited money because in my 9 to 5 days, what I saw in the bank account was the only thing that I thought I had. But as I got into real estate investing and all the other things, I realized there's rules around money that, is spoken between the people that play it, but nobody in the 9 to 5 world would know it because it's a knowledge game, right? And so
100%.
Yeah.
So I think just to address your question, first off, I would say, money's not limited. It's unlimited out there. Just find the right people and give them the right value. They'll give you money happily. Okay. That's what I believe totally now after...
In a total legal way, not like...
Total legal way, yeah. Like you have to exchange something to get the money, right?
Yeah.
You have to give them value or product or service or something to get their money in your pocket and make their money work for you. So you'd have to give them something. But it's not limited whatsoever. Like I've seen this in India, I've seen this in Dubai, I've seen this in Canada, I've seen this in the US.
Yeah.
So the 4 countries I've mentioned, I've seen this all across, deals happening, people I've met, and people who are exchanging deals, exchanging hands, shaking hands, doing napkin math and doing like handshake deals. There's a ton of money out there. So that's one.
Yeah. So you're saying limited. So when I say limited money, it's a limiting belief.
That is totally true. Like I think... that is a biggest limiting belief that I've come across
in your journey.
People in my journey, and I would say specifically South Asian people too. Right. Like I come from an Indian background, and people think what they see in front of them or in the bank account. That's the only money available. That's not true. Right. And my conditioning has been over the years, like I come from a business family. And so my conditioning has been such that don't think of money as an object. Think of it as an energy that kind of flows where you provide value.
Interesting.
You put in the work. And you get the money, right? And so that's how I've been conditioned to think about money now.
Okay. That's tangent subject. Like, the social promise that I think the Canadians growing up back in, if I was born in the 90s. And so it's that you go through the school system, you go through all that social things so that you can get a job, you can get a house and so on. And so I realized, like, when I talked to my younger brother, who's, I think Gen Z, he's on the borderline of a Gen Z. He would
what
say,
year?
1998.
Okay. I'm 95.
95, yeah. And he says, it seems like how home ownership is out of his hands. And so he's starting his business, which is great to accumulate the assets. But I guess, can you share maybe something from your story of like in your journey, if you were raised in a family where it was more of, no, money's not a limiting thing, but it's an exchange of energy. How did you come to buy your first property? And like, what was that journey like?
Sure. So my first property was really interesting. the first property that we bought as a family, that was different. But for the first property I bought myself, that is a little bit different. And how I got to buy that property was I didn't have the down payment. My family owned a rental in Waterloo.
Okay.
And I mean, I was living there we were house hacking. I was a 6-bedroom house.
Yeah.
1 bedroom I used to take for myself, the rent out the rest 5. And then the cash flow I used for my liquor or I don't know, like beer, whatever, right? But my first property, which I bought in Waterloo, was basically, I didn't have the down payment, but I discovered all these new strategies where people were making money doing wholesaling and doing all these sort of things without putting any money down of their own. And I was like, well, I could do this, right? Like Waterloo and Kitchener and Cambridge, they're sort of like the older areas, older part of the
in
cities.
Ontario, right?
Ontario. Yeah. And there's a lot of people who were not able to take care of their houses, not able to take care of the maintenance, keep up with the times, and just started door knocking and came across wholesaling.
Yeah.
Door knocking where the grass was big or boarded up windows and stuff like that. And what I noticed is a lot of people were open to sell me their property as is.
Wow.
And I was like, okay, well, this can be done at scale if I put in some hours. And so I got like a flyer done and everything like that. So I did my first deal wholesale. My commission was $9,500 through the person I assigned it to, right?
Yeah.
And so I did this twice. I gathered almost $26,000, and that was my first down payment for my first property.
Okay, so the principle I want to take away here is even though because of the family support, you had a house, you were living in one unit and then renting out the other units, but something made you realize, no, I can even get more. And why was acquiring or like at least looking for these houses that you can wholesale and things of that nature, why was that an interest to you at that moment?
Okay, well, good question. I didn't do wholesaling at scale. I only did that wholesaling that one
just
time.
1 or 2 times. But why? There must have been an understanding about houses or like making money and like.
Yeah, I mean, I saw what that one property was doing for us. Like I saw the
one that you were living in. Yeah,
I saw the cash flow. Although I wasn't managing the accounts, my aunt was, but I saw the cash flow that was coming in. I saw the leftover balance every month after paying all the mortgage and all the expenses. I was like, well, this is really profitable. And mind you, by this time, like I'm talking about bank balance only, just cash flow.
Right.
I didn't even know about the appreciation until 2020.
Oh, so like houses being appreciated.
Exactly.
After. So you didn't even know about that concept.
Exactly. Like I knew about the concept, but I didn't really know the true value of that property until 2020.
Oh,
right.
And
I was only banking on cash flow. But then 2020, when the property was transferred from my mom's name to my name, we got an appraisal done. We bought that property at $300 something thousand, like low 300s.
Yeah.
And they appraised for $875.
So you have about like 500,000.
No, because we were paying off mortgage all that time too, right?
Yeah.
Because the mortgage pay down was happening. Right. I was getting the cash flow. I was getting the excess cash flow, but the mortgage pay down was still happening. But I remember vividly, the mortgage left over at that point in 2020 was $100 and something thousand, or I think 160 or something around $1,000. And the TD guy, TD mortgage broker, he said, well, Laksh, you got a ton of equity. What do you want to do? I'm like, what are the options, right? Didn't know.
Yeah.
So that was the person who got me into rotating the money in the market. That was the person who guided me, who taught me how to rotate the money, how to get HELOCs, how to utilize the money to roll into more rentals, more properties, and how people have been doing this in Canada safely and legally for the last, I don't know how many years. And this is like a game people play.
Right.
So that's how I got into it.
And for the listeners that don't know these terminologies, HELOC, or it's basically a way that when you accumulate this amount of wealth and assets, like in dollar value, you're basically using these strategies to make the money work for itself and make more money.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. But I would just like to add though, like the HELOCs, people really should be cautious and mindful of before using that, because HELOC is basically like a revolving type of loan, which you only pay interest only payments, and unless you specifically pay off the principal.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So even if the payments are get taken out of your checkings account to pay off the HELOC, people think it's paying off the principal, but really it's doing is just taking off the interest only payments and putting it into the loan.
Right.
So you would have specifically have to pay the principal down to get to basically pay down the loan, right?
Right.
And that money is available again, so you can use it over again, right? But it's a really great tool for anybody to either start a business or grow a business or buy more properties if it makes sense numbers wise, right?
Yeah.
Because usually what we saw, you saw it in the real estate thing as well. A lot of people in Canada over leverage themselves, and I'm seeing, as a mortgage professional, I'm seeing that right now. Like the effects of that right now are devastating.
So to give the listeners a context, it's basically at the beginning of COVID, the house prices were starting to like elevate, and then I think like maybe 1 or 2 years into COVID, it really shot up. Like the prices of the homes, which means if you owned a home, your value went up, and then you use one of these HELOC, which is a strategy to say, go to the bank. It's like, what is my house worth now?
Yeah.
And then they'll be like, oh, it's worth a lot more. Then you're like, oh, can I borrow against it? Right. And I know I have borrowed against it and did all these other strategies, which were not successful. I mean, it was successful to a certain point, but it was not scalable. Hence I exited. And so I think it is interesting that you say that you now see as a mortgage agent, there's a lot of restructuring of debts that's going on.
Yeah.
So we'll get to that point. I still want to kind of follow your journey around. So you first now see the taste of circulating money and realizing how powerful this can be.
Yeah.
You were single, you're 21, and you realize, wow, 6 figures worth of money is just sitting, but now I'm able to.
So yeah, go ahead. I complete your question, but I want to share that one thing that I still remember when that refinance hit my bank account. So I got it into a cash out refinance and an equity, like a HELOC, a home equity line of credit. So when that cash out refi hit my account, I was just looking at. I literally I just helped the screen like this, the phone screen. I was this phone. I don't know, the old one, but it was 250,000 Canadian dollars. I'm like, oh shit, right? Like that much money and a 20 something
and
year
you've
old.
never seen that much money before.
Well, I've seen money, but like I've seen money going around in India in like cash bundles and stuff, because there's a parallel cash economy in India.
Yeah.
So I've seen money, but like not of my own, right? Like, and I'm seeing such a big amount when I was like 20 something, like early 20s. I'm like, wow, this is something. And I hope this money, like my other concern was like right after the adrenaline wore off. My other concern was, okay, well, I hope this money goes in the right direction, right? Because I was concerned because there was nobody guiding me. There was no financial advisor. There was no coach, money coach. My dad's in India.
Right.
Nobody's here to basically guide us to how to channelize this money properly, right? So it was really exciting. That time was really exciting.
And maybe like if I was in my young 20s realizing this, I'll probably like call up all my friends like, we're having a big party, not just tonight, throughout the week.
What tells you I didn't party? We went out. I think it was a big day, and we partied a lot. But and then I had to cool down. I had to make sure that the money goes in the right direction. That's all I knew. I didn't know where. I just knew it had to go in the right direction. I didn't know how. Which channel, which vehicle, nothing.
So you were still a student then?
Yeah.
Wow. Then yeah, what did you do once you came out of school? Like, I think you did other like coaching as well. Like you were getting coached, you were doing other investments. But yeah, I'd be really curious to hear what was on your mind. Definitely being cautious, but also excited about the opportunities.
Yeah. So right out of school, like I didn't jump into full-time real estate investing or anything like that.
You didn't? Oh, okay.
No, I didn't. No, I actually, so my program, we'll talk about my story in a little bit, but I guess my program at University of Waterloo was math and business and computer science. So I did, well, I struggled to pass, man, honestly.
I think Waterloo people, and this is an insider joke, Waterloo people would know. Yeah.
Yeah, Waterloo people would know. And that program was, look, I'll make a Waterloo joke, and people who go to Waterloo, if they're listening, they'll understand. Our buildings, the math building, M3, MC, or whatever, like all DC, these. DC is the library, which is depression on steroids, but that's where I spend most of my time.
Right.
But M3, MC, and all these like math buildings, if you walk around Waterloo, come to the math side, people are like, like the face down and like, you know, the sad emoji.
Yeah.
And you go to the art side, you know, like where people are doing AFM or arts or literature or music or whatever, like economics.
Right.
Everybody's just having a good time, man. Everybody's just like laughing, smiling, hanging out with people, each other. And another thing, like my program didn't have any good-looking girls, honestly.
I mean, it's a top engineering school, and I think the ratio. And so, my friends say it's a surprise too, because I went to Laurier, and so my wife's from Waterloo. She did actuary, and my friends are like, how did a musician from Laurier get in touch with an actuary from Waterloo? Like, so there was a small Korean church. I just found her.
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, it's a close knit community. Yeah. Like anytime we had to party from Waterloo, we went to Laurier.
Right.
Or hosted house parties, because at that point, like we had like a big community of people, of South Asian people particularly, and not a lot of South Asians back in the day were in that town. So we sort of gathered everybody and we would party together.
Yeah, that's right.
So that's how close the communities work. But anyways, my program had required me to do like 5 co-op terms, which I did, like diversified co-ops across tech consulting. I did project management. I did venture capital, investment banking. And then right out of school, I did 6, by the way, not 5.
Yeah.
But right out of school, I got hired by a Montreal-based construction tech startup.
Okay.
And they were really big at the time. And Saturday afternoon, I cracked the interview, 3 rounds.
Nice.
Sunday afternoon, I was
got the offer.
Gone. Like I was out of here.
Wow.
Monday, I started work in that office.
Oh, that's a quick offer. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm spontaneous like that. So they asked me, like, can you... Like we have an option of you going to the Mississauga office. I was based in Mississauga back then.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, well, is there an option to come to Montreal? They're like, well, yeah, that's our HQ.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, well, when can I come? So I just packed my bags and left. Did that for a couple months, about 6 months. And then I got hired by the Canadian government, the federal government. And I was basically hired as a student. So I took 2 steps back, right? Like from going from full-time to a student. But I thought, well, it's the government of Canada, it's the Crown Corp, and all that, the big hype around government jobs. Yeah. Doesn't matter if I take 2 steps back, but it would take me 10 steps forward.
Right.
So that's what I did. And then I got hired as a full-time in the government as a business development associate for Asia Pacific.
Okay.
Right.
Wow.
So that's been quite a journey. But what I would like to say is I didn't mind taking those back steps to go forward.
Right.
And I know this is an entrepreneurship based show. A lot of entrepreneurs that I hang out with who are high level people, they're not my friends, but they're in a community where people coach each other, people get coached from each other, and I'm basically a new fish in that zone
environment, right?
So I see those people doing that thing, taking a couple steps back, so that can catapult them into the future, right?
Right.
So yeah, that's what I did.
Yeah, that's an interesting point, because people think, again, if you're going through the system, you always think, oh, I can never go back. I can never take a step back.
Yeah.
But when you start to unlearn these things, you realize, no, life is okay.
Yeah.
You can still take a bit of a break. Because again, I went through mental issues myself while I was teaching. And then I had to take way many steps back to realize, man, life is not just about work. Life is not just about doing the 9 to 5 and then trying to figure something out on the 5 to 9, the after hours.
Yeah.
And then, so I'm curious to hear now, like you've went through a various cycle of working to 9 to 5.
Yeah.
How did you end up in where you are now with mortgage, but more interestingly also with Dubai? Like, I think you said you were a real estate licensed agent for Dubai.
Correct.
Yeah. So how did that journey sort of, tie?
It all sort of is intertwined, where we made the decision of leaving.
Who's we now?
Me and my wife.
Okay.
Yeah. So we took that decision of leaving Canada for good, but keep a hybrid approach.
Okay.
To Canada, and
what does that look like? I'm so curious. Yeah.
Yeah. So that looks like spending a couple of months in Canada for, like, I would say the summer months in Canada.
Yeah.
2 or 3 maybe, not more than that, because the business suffers as well. But what that came in 2024, just last year, before my son was born.
2024,
2024, my son was born, and then we left. He was born in February, and we left in May.
Wow.
Yeah. We just came back this year in February, right?
Wow.
So Dubai happened a couple of years ago, actually, where I discovered, I went there for traveling purposes.
Okay.
As a university kid, obviously, like, it hasn't been too long since I graduated. I graduated in 2020.
Oh, okay. I thought you were, okay.
Yeah,
that makes more sense.
I just recently, I would say, like, in the grand scheme of things, I just recently graduated. So I barely even worked full time. I just worked full time, maybe 2.5, 3 years.
Okay, that makes sense.
And then I just shot myself into real estate, different businesses, joint ventures, the financing, the money side. Anyways, Dubai happened when I was in university, and when I went there for traveling purposes, I saw what was going on. But at that time, Canada was still a good country, considered globally a good country to live in.
Yeah.
So people actually respected you when you went to India, for example, and you said, well, I'm from Canada. People like, okay, well, how's Canada like? We would like to go one day, or would like to send my kid one day to Canada, but that's not the case anymore. But in 2018, 2019, when I went to Dubai, they were already 50 years ahead.
50 years ahead?
Yeah, I could safely say that.
Wow.
50 years ahead.
Wow.
50 years ahead of Canada.
Yeah.
In terms of the infra, in terms of the AI, in terms of the technology, in terms of the buildings, in terms of the residents, the quality of people that are flocking to Dubai, the communities they have, and the lifestyle, right? And the tax benefit, the corporate structures. Don't even get me started on that side, but that planted a seed, or that maybe, one day this could look like my reality.
So you now doing your business in Dubai, as I have hybrid, as you said.
That's correct. Yeah. So the business, how it looks like is, I'm based in Dubai and in India.
Yeah.
But we're catering to people in the US, in Canada, and in India to invest in Dubai. Right. And I see a big demand of people who want to talk to me because of the corporate structure setup, the tax-free zones, only 9% corporate taxes versus I don't know how much percent that is in Canada anymore.
Yeah.
But the personal tax on the personal side, there's no personal taxes on rentals, on the income earned, on basically the money you get, you keep, right? You just keep it all. Was that
a factor for you as well?
100%.
Especially with now a son coming into the family?
100%. And so why Dubai is because you start considering the legacy aspect as well. Once you have your own kids, you have your own family.
Yeah.
And I was always a big family guy because I come from a joint family back home in India.
Okay.
And, you know, my dad's brother, he has 2 kids, a son and a daughter.
Right.
But I always, you know, whenever anybody asked me here, how many siblings are you guys? I said 4 because me and my younger brother, like my real brother, right? Plus my brother and sister, right? So I never considered them as my cousins. I always say over like 4 siblings.
That's sweet. Yeah.
Yeah. And so the family aspect was always there. The legacy aspect has always been there in my family. And the seed was planted through my like 10 generations ago, I guess. But my grandfather was really an influential figure back home in India.
Right.
And now we have like a big, I guess like a major road named after my grandpa.
Wow.
And so I always saw that with depth, with legacy, thinking about legacy,
like family legacy,
legacy, business legacy, you know, your name, your last name, the weight it carries, it's a lot, right? And if you are doing actions aligned with those values, the legacy, the business, the name of the family, every action for me when I came to Canada as an immigrant or as a child, I would say, was like, okay, well, if I do this, is it going to impact my dad's reputation back home? Is it like, are people going to go to my dad and be like, why did you send your son to Canada? And now he's like a brat, right? Like, so I always had that sort of image of my dad thinking, why did I send you to Canada, right? So the legacy aspect is the main thing where people are now considering Dubai because and this is nothing against Canada, but I'm having a lot of conversations with people right now and high net worth individuals who are tired of Canada, who just don't want their kids, their grandkids to be in
They don't love the snowy weather?
Yeah, man. I think
what in your opinion, what do you see is that bothering effect that people are saying?
The bothering
plus
effect,
the snow,
snow is not even a factor anymore. I think we're way past that.
The pendulum has swung too far away.
Yeah, I think we've swung way past that, like way past all the lipstick factors. It's now something deep. It's now something internal.
Yeah,
people are really considering whether or not they want their families to live here, or their generations to live here or not. They still want to keep their businesses here, mind you, because obviously the dollar effect is a little more, right? Like, for example, 1 Canadian dollar is like 65 Indian rupees or I think 3 dirhams, right? So it's a 1 to 3 ratio.
Right.
But US is like 1 to 4 in terms. Right? Like one USD is 4 dirhams.
Right.
So they still want to keep their businesses, but not their families. So they're thinking really on a global aspect.
Yeah.
Why Dubai for me was exactly that, because legacy wise, I want to keep my assets here, for example.
Right.
Or maybe if I liquidate my assets, I would start buying in Dubai, which I already have started the journey. But business wise, I don't think I want to be in Canada anymore. The economy size. For example, we're like what, 30
population?
We're like what, 35 million
35
people?
million, 40,
35 million people. I would still consider the US because we're 10 times that. But with what's going on in the US right now, I don't think I even want to step into the US, right? Because all the mental trauma, like I've got my uncle who's in the US who's going back to India potentially forever. And
so all these, I guess,
all these factors add up.
The dreams that was painted for us back when we were, I guess, entering into the country, is now shifting. And maybe it might be a bit weird to ask, but especially when you're starting a small family and you're now considering the family legacy and you're saying with your wife, let's move, and then so that it's beneficial for us. I'm sure the topic of like faith and like God and religion probably came into play, because like for us, going to a church, small Korean church here, I mean, it's one of the bigger ones, affect us because that's how we grew up in. Like it's not bi-culture of both Canada and Korea, right? So do you also have that scenario where you find like faith was a role that you had to consider, or?
it's a tough conversation for me to have, but I would love to have a conversation on this because I recently found my faith, and I think I'd lost that in the middle somewhere.
Yeah.
When I was going to school here, and I was going to university here, I had just lost a sense of everything, of who I was, which culture I came from, which religion I came from, and that didn't matter to me at all. But I've recently found my faith right before, I would say on the cusp of before my son was born. And you hit the nail right on the head where you said the faith definitely played a big role here, because I started questioning everything, because I thought, well, look, I have a son now. What if my son doesn't live with me? Right?
Yeah.
Doesn't live with me when I'm aging. Let's say when I'm 60, where my dad is at right now, turning 60 almost.
Yeah.
And my like my uncle.
Yep.
My in Indian we call him Tayaji, for example.
Okay.
He's turning 72, 73, almost hitting 75.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm just thinking to myself, yeah, I've got my two brothers. My sister got married. She's with her husband in India.
Yeah.
But what if my two brothers are there? Would I want the same thing for, let's say, my kids? If I have 3 kids, for example.
Yeah.
Would I want one of them to just be far away? And if yes, then for what? If no, then why not just go back?
Yeah.
Because like it's not, for me, it was a little bit different too, because by God's grace, our family is well settled back home in India.
Yeah.
So I could think of going back and work in the family business and expand that into like a whatever I wanted to.
Yeah.
But yeah, like faith, God, everything played a big role, because I was 13 when I came to Canada.
Yeah.
I was 28 when I left Canada. So I spent more years in Canada than in India.
Right.
And without parents. So going from this sort of freedom and this sort of environment to, like, let's say, environments back home, which is not as advanced, I want to say mental state wise, because people mentally are, most of them are in a limited beliefs back home in India.
Right.
And I'd say this with no offense, right? Like, it's just the circles that you hang out with,
it influences.
they are open-minded, they're growth mindset, but like the people around you, not everybody's in the same mindset as you. So I had a lot of anxiety before I left Canada. I had a lot of fear of the unknown. I didn't know what I was going to do.
Yeah.
I didn't know how I was going to pave my path.
Right.
I just knew that I wanted to be with my parents and my family. And I wanted my son to be with his grandparents in between all this legacy, right? Because my dad and my uncle have done a phenomenal job of carrying the weight of the last 10 generations and building something out of that.
Yeah.
Right. So when I look at myself now, I'm questioning every time I'm doing something, I'm questioning, well, is it justifiable to all the sacrifices that my previous generations made, my forefathers did, and my dad and my uncle did? If not, then I don't even touch that gig or that action. I don't take that action. But if yes, if I get an internal voice saying that, okay, well, this aligns with what you stand for, your family stands for, okay, good to go do that. Right. So that's what allowed me to go back with the fear of the unknown and just be present in India and in Dubai to carve my own path. And I would say my niche found me rather than I struggling to find my niche. I was just very open and flexible to let what's meant for me come to me, right? Like I didn't force anything into existence. I just said, okay, well, I'm going. We'll see what happens. We've got savings. We've got, like, my wife's job was still there. Like, she was on mat leave. So we didn't quit her job. She works in the government too, by the way, same company.
Right. Yeah.
And yeah, well, I just very open and magnetic to let things flow to me.
So then, am I correct to say that when you now made that jump to going to Dubai, and I think Dubai from between my friends too, like it's one of the destinations everyone wants to go to, at least because of not only the tax, but they said there's just high level of energy just happening. Yeah. I'm excited to see what that's like. So I'm hopefully in a couple of months I can book a ticket too. But when you went there, was the real estate thing always on the radar for you? I mean, I guess if you're a smart man, and you've already done pretty well for yourself too. You have, I think, 11 properties.
Yeah, I've got almost about 10, 11.
Yeah, 10, 11 properties. Yeah. So you understand the game of assets and real estate investing. And so how was the journey like entering to Dubai? And then, because maybe you did. Maybe you just went to Dubai, be like, I'm gonna get a real estate. What do you say, realtor license?
Yeah, realtor license. So funny enough, like my wife and my son, we went together this time when I went to India to Dubai, and my wife saw firsthand like what's possible, what's not, where the world's going, and she had been to Dubai before. Okay, but this time around it was so. There's a saying in Dubai, like every time you come to Dubai, you won't find it the same. Right?
Oh, you
won't find it the same.
Wow, because it's changing so fast.
Everything is changing so fast. I've never seen that many cranes up in the air that I've seen in Dubai. I've never seen the level of intellect in one particular room that I saw in every room in Dubai, because you're competing and you're with creme de la creme of the entire world. Yeah, top of the top of their game. Yeah. Go to Dubai, right? And they compete with each other. So the environment is just conducive of you performing better, right? And that's what I like about Dubai.
Yeah.
Second thing which I like about me being in Dubai is having the prior knowledge of real estate from your home country and having all those assets to take care of you, even if you don't make any income in Dubai, is a big thing. Is like a game changer, right? And having that backup that you can fall back on. I know people say it's not good. You should burn all the boats. Get to the destination. That's only no plan Bs. Yeah. But that's all. Like it just sounds great in theory, but when you actually like have a family and a young kid, like who's like almost 9-10 months old, and you're thinking of all these things that I want to send him to private school, I want to have my wife the best life possible, I want to
that's exactly what my wife and I are talking about too. Yeah,
show my parents a good time. That's a big thing for me. Like I would love for my parents to fly chartered or fly business class, right, or experience the best cruise in the world, for example, right? This is just who I am as a person.
Right.
So Dubai allows for all that. Being in Canada, no matter how much income I was earning, it was all going away to the taxes, to the property taxes. There's no property taxes, by the way, in Dubai. Income tax is a separate thing, but there's no property taxes. So doing real estate was always on the radar. And I'm just going to call out all the realtors right now. Good realtors understand this. Bad realtors also understand this. But being a realtor, basically like a middleman, it's the best business in the world right now with the middle economy, like the connector economy. That, you've seen that.
You're being a broker, right?
Yeah, connector economy, being a broker, being the middleman. I think it's the best thing in the world where you don't have your own product. You're not selling anything.
Yeah, you're not responsible
for economy goes down and you're like bankrupt or
product fulfillment.
Like what's happening in Canada right now, you're going into receiverships and all that stuff.
Yeah.
You're not putting on. So on the flip side, you're not putting your own money.
Yeah.
Right. There's no money involved from your side.
I guess there's the education to get the license and stuff, but
compared
to starting a business.
Of course. So basically you're in the middle of it all. You just have to be educated, the right mindset where people trust you. You shouldn't, well, a lot of brokers do, but you shouldn't misguide people for bigger checks, bigger commissions.
Right.
So if you're all those 3 things or 4 things, which I just mentioned, I think you can be a great broker and be in demand always and never go out of business. and people trust you, start building your personal brand. So with Dubai, that model really attracted me ever since I was in Canada.
Yeah.
And brokers understand this, but the regular public, let's say your buyer or the end user, they think of us or the broker community as scammers, as like
someone they could just brush off.
Not a reputable job.
Yeah.
Somebody they could brush off. Exactly. Yeah. And if you're calling people, let's say, for example, cold call. Cold calls are annoying.
Yeah.
But if you know how to do them, if you've mastered the art of cold calling, if you mastered the art of actually connecting with the other person on the other side, it doesn't feel like a cold call. It just feels like a regular person reaching out to you, understanding what you want.
Right.
So I could actually go out and help you. Right. So all that stuff I had already accumulated in Canada. So that's why Dubai is, a great place for me to be. Good commissions, great property market, global trust, expat population.
Right. So there's all these.
A lot of trust globally.
Yeah.
A lot of trust globally has been pulling Dubai up. Right? Just think of it as a big piece of cake or big cake.
Yeah.
Right. And don't get offended, but brokers as the flies on top.
Okay? Flies on top.
Flies on top of the cake.
Yeah.
And all these flies are just screaming, buy from me, buy from me, buy from me.
Just sounding like another person that's doing the same thing.
Exactly.
But you're saying there's a way to stand out.
There's a way to stand out, and that's true personal branding, which I sort of cracked and figured out 2 years ago. If I had known the personal branding side and the brand building of your personal branding when I was in Canada or in India, there's a huge opportunity right now for people to make money. Social selling is big. It doesn't feel like selling. It just, feels like helping. And you're actually helping people out.
You're serving people.
You're serving people. You're adding value to people's lives. And that's how the top brokers in Dubai stand out. They're not the fly on top of the cake.
Yeah.
Because believe it or not, if you're a buyer, for example, and you want to eat that cake, you would eat that cake regardless of me telling you, how great Dubai is, or you should buy Dubai from me.
Yeah.
If you like me, you'll buy from me. If not, then there's like 50,000 other brokers you'll buy from, but you still get that piece of the cake, right?
Yeah.
So it's the cake that's the main ingredient. The brokers are
just
brokers, right? But a good broker separates themselves by building their brand.
I think it's really unique because not only are you doing the real estate realtor brokering, but you also do the mortgage brokering, because then that means you know how to crunch numbers, right? But before we go into the social media side as well, I wanted to sort of ask you to highlight some of the business skills, because you're right. I don't think if somebody just that came out of school that did a bit of 9 to 5 and then started their mortgage brokerage or like being a mortgage broker just because they enjoyed it, I think they would miss a lot of the business skill that you would maybe gain from real estate investing. You said you did door knocking.
Yeah,
I did door knocking too, and people were like, I was scared, right? Yeah. But on the other side of fear was like understanding that if I do this right for maybe 6 months, I could get a 6-figure income, right?
Yeah.
So that's what really drove me. But could you share with us some of the business skills you've learned that you think is important for an entrepreneur today? You mentioned social selling, so maybe you can lead with that, but anything that comes to mind. And
hard one. I've got a few, but putting me on the spot, I would say storytell as much as possible. Putting your story in front of others allows you to build a credibility and a brand that nobody else can mimic.
So like when you're being introduced to a new person, you're being open about like what you're sharing rather than just being like, oh, are you interested in buying? And then pushing the envelope.
I talk.
Yeah.
I talk first. I don't ask like, hey, how can I get you a mortgage?
Yeah.
No, I don't say that. I don't say, how can I get you a Dubai apartment? I talk about their situation. I talk about my story. And a lot of people start connecting automatically because your story resonates with multiple people.
Yeah.
Look, for me, what's going on right now? I've got a young family.
Yeah.
Right. I was married in 2022. I've got a fairly new marriage, a young family, fairly new marriage. I'm in real estate. I have a numbers background. I own a few properties, right?
Yeah.
I like talking to people. I like traveling. I like food.
Right.
As you could tell, probably I'm a big guy. What else? I like cars.
Yeah.
Right. I like watches. So all these things, if I'm putting it out there onto the internet and on my, let's say my Instagram profile, let's say you jump onto my Instagram profile randomly and you say, oh, look, this guy talks about watches. He's wearing a Vado watch or a Rolex watch, which is my goal. Wow, to buy.
Yeah.
But let's say, for example, a Rado watch. Well, this guy sounds interesting. Okay, well, he's got a son that's 15 months old. I've got a son or a daughter that's
close
almost the same age, right?
Yeah.
This guy sounds interesting. He's talking about what I want to do, right? So maybe I'll just follow him. So that follow leads to a conversation. A conversation leads to an actual prospect. It's not the other way around for me. Like the prospect doesn't lead to a conversation. Conversation leads to a prospect. Prospect leads to a lead. Lead leads to a business, like a converted lead.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Like leads to business.
Yeah.
So that's how I operate. I've always operated that way. People say that it's the longer cycle. It's not the fast closing cycle.
But trying to get the cash quick.
Correct.
Yeah.
Like churning cash quick or quick success. That's not me. And I've noticed like over the years, so I believe, I don't know if you got Indian listeners or not, but
I have a couple, I'm sure.
Or Punjabi listeners or
a
Hindu listener, whatever. But I believe in astrology a lot. Astrology is like a big part of my life now. Like ever since I found my faith in 2021, 2022,
right.
Astrology has become like a big part of me. And I've spoken to numerous astrologers about my chart, my astral positions, my chart and planetary positions and stuff. And they've said that if you ever so much go for like a quick buck, you'll just fall to the ground.
Interesting.
And you would have to work harder, 10 times harder than everybody else to achieve what you want to do. And so the Saturn is a planet. Okay. This is maybe new for you. Kind of going, This is maybe new for you, but the Saturn is a planet and it's in my birth chart as a good planet, right? So there's good planets and there's malefic planets.
Okay.
So good planet, Saturn is basically the planet of justice. For example, if you worked hard, if you put in the hard yards, if you're doing all the work that's needed, it will reward you, but it will reward you after delay. Like, so
not like
instantly, right? Like, so my positioning is this, like, if you go for the instant buck, instant win, or like a low hanging fruit, you'll be fucked. Right. Okay. So I don't even go for that anymore. Okay. Like, I've learned that. I've reflected, for example, my university, and this is maybe going off topic, but I love talking about all this stuff and life and money and business. So my university, I had an option of going to pretty much any business school in Canada or the US. So for numbers purposes, my grade 12 top 6 average was 98.6. Right. So it was really high at that point. Yeah. And I could get into any business school, any top Schulich or Richard Ivey or anything. So first of all, I didn't even apply to those. Like, I just went for the comfort level where my friend was going. I was like, okay, well, Waterloo. Yeah. Good. Somebody showed me an idea of investment banking and how Waterloo math people are doing good in investment banking. Yeah. So I was like, okay, well, what's the income like? Yeah. And they're like, well, high 6 figures. Like high 6 figures.
800?
No, like you make that kind of money, but like later in our careers in investment banking.
Yeah.
But like for an associate or an analyst starting out, easy 100,000.
Okay.
Like
Yeah.
Analyst for sure.
Yeah.
Easy 100,000 plus the bonus
Starting
on top.
out. Right.
Starting.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Starting right out of university. It's a lot of money.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, well, I'll just do that. Anyways, long story short, I could have taken the easy route, which was the BCom, BBA, IBBA, Schulich, Richard Ivey. I got into Queens, I got into Rotman, all those good schools. I decided to go to the Waterloo route and the 5.5 year program because of the co-op. So when I reflected now, what my astral birth chart says about,
sort of
matches my journey.
Yeah.
It automatically leads me to journeys where you will be rewarded. So Waterloo degree is highly recognized. It's highly prestigious.
Yeah.
But it came with its challenges. It came with my mental health gone to shambles.
Yeah.
It came with lots of hours putting into maths equation where you don't even see numbers.
Yeah.
So for my degree, you same with your wife. I didn't see numbers my entire undergrad journey. It was like all A, B, C, E, F, G, all that stuff. So anyways, that's what I do. And it aligns with my faith. I never go for the quick buck. And a quick buck will destroy you.
So relationship building for you is how you lead off. And then how do you usually capture sales then? And then once this conversation, I guess we can turn to your like, maybe if you want to go into that, but let's go talk about that.
Sure. I don't close.
You don't close.
I don't close. I help.
You help.
I help. And people who need help from me, they love paying me for what I do. Right. And like, it's just the concept I've mastered. Like, you see all these people talk about closing, which is great.
Yeah.
Closing.
Getting the sale.
You're getting the sale. Yeah. Closing is an important part of business, and the most important part of business, I would say. But when you switch your mindset around closing to actually helping, that conversation steers in a different direction.
So how does that look like in the actual conversation? Would they be like, oh, I need to think about it? Or like, do you say like, oh yeah, let's circle back in a week? Or you don't even say that? Or
no, I don't say that. I just say, for example, one of my closing sequence or a helping sequence is basically I give them I front load them with so much value that they don't even want to go anywhere else.
Oh,
like it's usually an instantaneous decision.
Yeah,
because they know they're not paying me. I'm getting paid through the bank or from the developer. For example, right? Yeah. They're not paying me for doing my job. I'm getting paid through a third party.
Right.
I'm just helping them out, and how I'm helping them out matters. So I front load them with so much information, so many guides, so like calculators.
Like these are documents that you give them?
These are actual documents, like PDFs, like digital assets that I give them.
Yeah.
Their personalized reports, for example, like with their particular numbers, if they're comfortable sharing their mortgage situation, their their monthly payments and all that stuff. So we design like a particular customized, highly tailored report just for them. So they come to us, like we don't go to them. And plus I feel like person who's coming to you through one of the videos, it's already 70% sold. Right, like
through the social media,
through the social
branding.
Media. The branding. Yeah. So we're zero paid ads. It's all organic. I work with 2 other people, and they're not on my team. Like I'm a solo guy right now. My team though is comprised of individuals who've been in the mortgage industry, for example, for 55 years. Right. Like they're old. They know what they're doing. Yeah. They've seen the times, they've seen the cycles, they've seen everything Canada can do or can happen to you in Canada.
Right.
They've seen it all. Right. So I work with those guys. I could have just gone to a new brokerage who is just focusing on hiring agents just to increase the numbers. But I didn't focus on that. Rather, I focused on the person who has already achieved a certain number, a certain book of business in mortgage industry. So to answer your question, when we talk about the collective experience. When we talk about front loading them with all the information and the knowledge and the webinars and the seminars. And,
you even do webinars?
Yeah, I do webinars for Dubai. I do webinars
weekly or
depends on my availability as well. Like, we don't do recorded webinars. I don't send out the recorded master classes. I do live on the spot. Going over deals. If somebody, you know how in our coaching programs they had like a deal overview type of thing every week. I tried to do that with my clients or potential clients, and so they can evaluate their deal or their first home or their second home or the second property, investment property with me together on my calculator, and then I can give them exact recommendations of how to go about it. That's what I do for Dubai.
That's great.
And also for the mortgage industry.
So
then you could see by now having all these things, if I was a end user, I probably wouldn't even think about going to anybody else because nobody else in the industry, there's guys who are doing it.
Right.
But like they're like regular brokers are not doing it. And those guys who are doing it, they're hard to find. Right. So I try to make myself out there easily available for the regular person to come in contact with me, and I can offer all these values to them. So they can come and do business with me.
Let's end on these two set of questions, which I think if I'm the listener and maybe I'm further along in the journey, I have assets, but I have a debt restructuring problem. So that's one. And the second one is like a young family. They're considering, even my wife and I considered, should we move out of Canada? Because if I'm starting my business and I want to grow my business for legacy and all that reason too, we thought about the States. We thought about populated areas of States as well as Dubai. They said, there's something about like, I think a golden visa for media stuff. So I'm like, why not, right? So let's do those two scenarios and then we'll sort of land the plane. Would that be okay?
Sure.
Yeah. So who should approach you? Let's start with the debt structuring first. So let's say if you're a business owner, you've taken on some debt and the cycle is coming to a renewal. Who should approach you and what are you giving them in terms of helping you?
So my business right now is consistent of first-time home buyers for sure.
Okay.
Right? And second-time investors particularly. Who second-time buyers, which are first-time investors. Like the first home, I don't count as an investment. It's a liability. If you consider that as an asset, it's a write-off, man. You can use it as a cash flow type of thing and as a investment strategy, but I don't consider that. And the third category that I deal with right now is a lot of people who are struggling with paying off their existing debts. So how I've positioned myself in the market is I'm a debt restructuring professional.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
Rather than a mortgage agent, which like me and 50,000 other people are.
Just kind of,
but I am a debt restructuring professional who can actually save you potentially north of $1,500 a month if you're in high interest debt.
Yeah.
And we do so I don't if you don't have a property, then probably I cannot help you because all these loans are tied to assets like real tangible housing, hard assets. But what I tell people who are stuck in the high interest debt situations is that when they come talk to us, they should be open-minded because when I do or design a strategy for them, it comes with some sort of unconventional ways, for example, which might be a lot to discuss over this podcast. But those are unconventional strategies which people can take so they can get out of this high interest debt. And I've successfully in the last month, even since I've got my license like the last month, I have dealt with at least 20 people, got them out of high interest debt, and make sure that they save at least $1,000 a month by doing what they should have done in the first place.
Right.
So I feel like people know what they need to do. It's just the lack of execution and the lack of guidance, which they don't have.
Especially with different information that's all available out there. But you're saying like, no. For your situation, we can restructure it like this way to save at least $1,000.
At least $1,000. Like all these 20 people, for example, I could safely, to put numbers in perspective, in the last month only, if you do like 20 people times 1,000, we at least save $200,000 per month for people, right? And that's a big number, at least for somebody who's starting out, somebody who's struggling, somebody who's even struggling to put food on the table in Canada, for example. Right now, it's a bad situation. So people value every dollar that is saved, every dollar that's left in their pocket. People start valuing that. And I feel like when money was abundantly available at a cheaper interest rate, people stopped valuing money. People stopped caring about money, and they were just spending out. Like,
there's a bit of a greed affect, and also like fear of missing out.
Exactly. Yeah. Like they're buying high interest cars, Mercedes, and all those cars which they couldn't afford.
Right.
People can't afford in most cases. People can't afford in Canada. People cannot afford those luxury cars.
So they were living beyond their means.
Exactly.
When the money was easier to borrow.
Exactly.
But now in a time you have to learn to strategically restructure.
Exactly. And like we as numbers guys or numbers professionals, like we see the effect that this is leaving on people's mindsets, people's mentality, people's actions, their daily lives. They're struggling. They're struggling to find their next job, their next gig. Everybody's like, so I was recently talking to this guy he works at a bank, but he drives Ubers at night. So his family time is going into driving Uber because they can't do their monthly expenses. Right?
Wow.
And he drives Uber in a C-Class Mercedes. So like my question was, right? Like if you were driving an Uber in an Audi or in a Mercedes, what are you doing? Right? Like does it really make sense to have that car? Right? So that's people need to start asking that questions consciously to themselves.
So at certain point, it's gonna hurt, but the Band-Aid has to be ripped off in certain situations. And
I'm the one to rip it off. Like I tell my clients off all the time. Even before when I got into the mortgage business, I was in the real estate game for the last 10, 11 years. I have always been the one to rip the Band-Aid off to people, whether they like me or not. I tell them off. Do you want to do business with me? Great. If not, great. I'm not going to chase you, but I'm going to tell you what's good for you. Like if you want to follow me, you want to do business with me, you're welcome. But this is the reality. It's time for you to face it.
And the numbers, sometimes I think there's something about numbers that I think if you're a number person like yourself or my wife, they understand numbers speaks truth. But some people like me, when I see numbers, it's like, no, I think I can get away with it. But you're right. I think having somebody as a professional to guide you and just be like, no, you can't do that. You have to now see it this way. That really is important. How about on the other side of like, if I'm a young family looking to explore about going to Dubai, what do I need? Do I need to have like 5% savings of the house value that I would look at? Can I go rent? Is it okay to rent? And like, is it a feasible place to live for a young family?
Yeah. I like Dubai questions. So funny, interestingly enough, what I'm doing right now ties into Dubai directly.
Okay.
Right. So I'll tell you how. These high net worth individuals that we're dealing with right now, they have multiple properties. They have blanket mortgages. They have like all the collective collateral loans, which they can refinance or they can take equity out. They could take money out, and
so they have money.
They have money, and using that money to relocate to Dubai. Right. So I'm helping them do that in Canada and Dubai.
So these are Canadians that have properties, that have some money available to sort of like move the capital around. And they're now deploying it in.
100%. So the conversations that I'm having for Dubai start with the mortgage refinancing and the debt restructuring here in Canada.
Interesting.
Because these people this is one set of people. Right? One set of people who are just tired of paying so much taxes, want safety and luxury for their kids and for their families. They are the ones reaching out to see how you can help us set up base in Dubai, but starting at home. So what we do is we look at their entire financial snapshot, how they can squeeze in that money, or how they can use the better use of words, how they can take that dead money, which is not doing anything for them, and start earning on that dead money in Dubai. So think of Dubai as a strategy rather than a lifestyle thing.
Okay.
Right? Like a lifestyle upgrade comes with that strategy, which is great.
Right.
But essentially what Dubai is, it's a strategy. And strategy for tax structures, strategy for families to raise their kids properly. And with the schooling system in Canada, I mean,
the education,
the education. I personally think, having experienced both sides of the world, like I did schooling in India, I did schooling in Canada. I think till high school, the Canadian education system is subpar at best, subpar at best. But the higher education, like the universities, are top class, like top of the world, right? So I want my kids to study either in India or Dubai, gather all that knowledge, that intellect, and then go to wherever they want, right? So
once they do the check mark,
exactly. So Dubai comes as a strategy for a lot of these people, and who are thinking long term, just not for the next 2 years, but like for the next 15, 20 years, saying, okay, well, I've got this asset in Canada, which is not doing anything, not much, except like sheltering us,
right.
How can I use this asset, keep it in place, keep it intact, and how can I use this asset to buy another asset which is higher appreciating, getting more cash flow, allows my family to be raised how I want them to, and how they should be in the first place. So a lot of people are having that conversation. So Dubai, as you said, comes with golden visa, tax-free income, no rental, no taxes on the rentals, ease of business, ease of doing business. So the Swiss bank or UBS bank rated them, I think, 3rd or 4th in the world to do business. AI, they're doing phenomenally well in Dubai. So employment wise, they're generating a lot of employment. Employment rates is, I think, like 1 or 2%. Unemployment rate is 1 or 2%, which we just hit 7 point something in Canada. So as you could tell, there's a lot of attraction right now for that side of the world.
So what if let's say we are thinking about moving?
Okay.
What do you think is the best route for us to approach? Knowing that I have some skill of media, my wife is an actuary. Do you think there is a way in, or do you know people that would be able to sort of like?
So
I guess it's more about personal.
I guess
question,
like building off your first question, like how much savings you need for Dubai, and like what can you do? How much do I need to have?
Can I rent for a year until I look for a job or something like that?
For sure. A lot of people, what they're doing right now is starting to find jobs in Canada for Dubai.
In Canada for Dubai?
Yes.
Okay.
So that's a new thing. Well, it has been around for a very long time. For the people used to do this in India. While they were in India, they were finding jobs for Canada so they can come to Canada. So now people are doing the exact same thing for Dubai. While they're sitting in Canada at the comfort of their homes, they're finding jobs in Dubai. Once they get a job, if they get a job, they can go there for like a month or two, get settled down, fly back home, take their families, and off they go, right? But what I found is a lot of people also like to move there first and then find employment, because finding jobs in Dubai is easy once you're there.
When you're there.
I see. Right? And having the UAE number, having the UAE address, it really adds up to your profile for people to employ you, hire you, because...
Is there like a system that ranks that, or?
I think I don't even think there's tons of systems.
How did you get into Dubai? Like, did you find somebody that had the network Be like, yeah, you can use this, or just sort of like an off-topic conversation?
Yeah, how I got into Dubai was when this time around when we went, me and my wife and my son, I met with a lot of real estate professionals through LinkedIn, through social media, and through Instagram. I messaged them out cold, met with them, liked what they were doing. I already knew I had an inclination for Dubai real estate.
Yeah.
So then what I did was to come back home to India, started reaching out to companies. And this is one of the skills which I would like for budding entrepreneurs to, I guess, learn is your communication skills.
Yeah.
Your communication skills allow you to enter any room possible.
Yeah.
And my wife actually told me, she's like, Laksh, like you just were in Dubai for 10 days, like 10 or 12 days, whatever. And you cracked a job with like the highest, like the agency that does highest number of transactions in Dubai for real estate. I cracked them, got a role as a senior investment advisor just through talking to them, telling them my story, telling them who I was, telling them what I did in the past and what I come from. And they were like, yeah, we want you. And then the next day I had the job offer. So my wife actually pointed my attention to communication skills, like the way you talk to people, the way you storytell, the way you carry yourself, not through your clothing. Obviously, the exterior matters, but the confidence that you radiate, the other person can see. Right in your eyes, right? So that's how I was able to crack Dubai, but not everybody is able to do that, and I understand.
I was gonna say, I'm like, okay, so you message on LinkedIn and just suddenly appears like, I'm gonna tell my story. It's like, well, I don't think it's like that, right? It's more like being cool, calm, collective.
Cool, calm, collected. Be genuine. Like don't say what you're not.
That's right.
People can read through the bullshit.
They can.
They cut through the bullshit. Just say who you are. Wherever you are in your journey, just tell them who you are. Tell them your journey. And people appreciate honesty. People appreciate the genuinity that you bring with your aura.
And then they ended up sponsoring you to be able to.
Yes. So then they would give somebody a visa, a work visa. The health benefits that the company offers. Depending on the company you get hired in, they could give you a car allowance, fuel allowance, rent, like the accommodation allowance. So a lot of people are doing that. But mind you, like for Canadians who are wanting to go to Dubai, they prefer the renting route first. And then eventually once you're there for like 2-3 months, 4 months, understand the markets, understand the pace of the market. It's a really different beast. Dubai is a different beast. It's a small city. But I'll give you a number for your viewers and for yourself as well. Toronto Real Estate Board, like the TREB, Toronto Real Estate Board, highest transactions recorded were in 2021. Correct? Like, the market high and all that. And that was 120,000 transactions. Or 121, close to. And that was the highest. That is collective of the GTA, that is collective of Toronto, and I think a collective population of about 8-9 million people. If I'm right. If I'm correct. I'm correct, 8 to 9 million people, right? 120,000 transactions. Last year, just 2024 alone, Dubai did 240,000 transactions. Right? And Dubai is a small island. It's an island. Right? So imagine the scale that's going on in Dubai. Imagine the speed that's going on in Dubai. It's not like for example, I was just talking to my content creator this morning. I was like, where's that video that I sent you for that one particular project? And he's like, it's still under production. I'm like, bro, that project is sold off. That project is sold off. I'm talking about the Mac Chelsea project, Chelsea Football Club brand new project. I made a video for that I think 10 days ago or something like that.
But that brand is sold off.
2 hours.
It moves fast.
2 hours, 900 units sold off.
Wow.
Close to 900 if I'm right. But so then people don't realize what they're dealing with. For a Canadian, like young family like yours, I think you should have at least $30,000 to $50,000 to relocate with family. With family.
Yeah.
And then you could start finding work there. Work is easy to find.
Yeah.
But it's not simple.
Who would you recommend not to go to Dubai? And then we'll sort of land on that question.
Sure. Yeah. So I wouldn't recommend somebody to go to Dubai who's closed-minded. Closed-minded, doesn't fly in Dubai.
Yeah.
And Dubai, like I feel like Dubai doesn't give second chances.
Oh.
So you have to be calculated. You have to be mindful, and you have to be a curious person and flexible person to explore. So if you're closed off in your mind, I don't think Dubai is for you. If you like, and who is it for?
Yeah.
If you like being around high energy people, magnetic people, it's a melting pot of culture. People from all over the world are in Dubai, and they want to live in Dubai. You want that sort of speed, that dynamics around you. I think it's the best place for people to be, to push themselves to do even better, right? And only a growth mindset person can do that, not a closed mindset guy, right?
Yeah. I'll have to, again, there's so many things we can talk about. I'll have to bring you back on for another conversation. But what exciting things are you working on now? And is there anything you want to mention for the podcast that maybe we haven't covered?
Sure. I think we've covered pretty much everything, but I would just want to say a few things for budding entrepreneurs and people who are just starting out their journey. And something that guides me in my journey is my dad's my role model, and he keeps repeating one thing to me. Like every time I'm down, every time I'm feeling low, he just keeps repeating this one thing. He's like, you're only one deal away from changing your life.
You're one deal away from changing your life.
You're one deal away from changing your life. You're one phone call away from changing your life. And for that one deal, for that one phone call to happen, you have to put in the reps, right? Like I dissected that statement, and what I found is that you have to put in the reps for that one phone call to come, for that one deal to come your way.
Yeah.
So that's literally it. And he also says that when it's meant to be for you, your life can change in a minute. Like 1 minute can change your life, right? And as I said, I've seen people with one deal putting them 40 years ahead because of the rooms that I hang out with now.
Yeah.
I don't hang out with them. Like I just go there as a mentee, and I've seen people's journey, and the one deal just put them 40 years ahead of everybody else.
Wow.
That one business decision, that one phone call, that one action that they took, which the others didn't.
Yeah.
They got themselves ahead of everybody else. So that's one thing. Second thing I want to say for entrepreneurs is stop forcing things into existence, because that's just going to burn you out. That's just going to stress you out.
Yeah.
And when you're misaligned with what's meant to be for you, it doesn't end up pretty.
Yeah.
Right. Mentally.
Right.
Like I've gone through therapy sessions. I've gone through the burnouts.
Yeah.
And I could safely say that it's not worth it.
I think a mentor of mine said it another way, which is beautifully put. It's like, imagine the wind is going against you, or like in backing you, like pushing you. It feels effortless. So
correct.
I think that's a very good point. Yeah.
Yeah. And the third point, just maybe could be my last, is I always believe in the Buddha circle. And the Buddha circle is basically a phenomena or a concept where people come to your life to serve their purpose, either to teach you, either to give you a blessing, to help you to get to where you want to go, or to teach you a lesson. And once their time in your life is done, stop forcing them to stay in your life. Let go. Let go and be flexible. And I've done that now, like after in like the last 2-3 years.
Yeah.
I've done that and my life has changed drastically. And more so in the mental peace sort of thing.
Yeah.
And once you're at peace mentally, ideas flow naturally. You know, you want to do more.
Yeah.
You feel lighter. You want to, you know, do things quickly. Action taking capability goes up.
Yeah.
So all these things add up, right? So that's what I want to say to your listeners at the moment. But never stop execution. Never stop taking actions, because strategy and ideas can only get you so far. Like one of my mentors just said, you can't steer a parked car. Right?
Yeah, like, that's a good one. You can't steer a parked car.
You can't like course correct once you're on the way, but start taking action, right? Like you can't change
the car
a lane.
has to be rolling.
Exactly. You can't change a lane on sitting on a driver, right? So start moving, change lanes, and let your niche find you. And that's what I would like to say.
Yeah. Thanks. So where can people find you? What's any Instagram handle plugs or?
Yeah, I'm doing a lot of exciting things on Instagram and TikTok.
Yeah.
I'm experimenting with these platforms.
Nice.
So people can find me on TikTok at Indian Mortgage Guy.
Indian Mortgage Guy.
Yeah, that's it. I just wanted to keep it fun and more relatable to people.
Nice.
So Indian Mortgage Guy on TikTok and just Laksh Mehta on Instagram.
How do you spell that for the listeners?
It's LAKSHMEHTA.
MEHTA.
Yeah, okay. That's it. So lots of exciting things on the mortgage and the debt side, and a lot of exciting things on the Dubai side for Canadians and Americans. So a lot, you can find me there.
Awesome. Well, if you need help with debt restructuring and or wanting to buy properties in terms of a strategy in Dubai, you know who to reach out. So
that's it.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks so much. Yeah.
Thanks for having me today.